Hi class, welcome to IS 371. I'm Professor Fahmi Jalani. Today we'll be covering Chapter 8. We take a look at IT Security Policy Framework approaches. We take a look at the different method and the best practices for a security policy framework, the rules, responsibility, accountability, duties, and also governance and compliance. So in choosing IT security policy framework, you need to know about three things. Pretty much your industry, how does the management view. Some companies don't like it, some companies think that it's not important. Okay, is there any bias within your organization? More on political, right? So let's take a look at typical domain model. So here we have an example of how the framework looks. You have the vendor management, project management. Okay, for example, when you decide you need to engage on a vendor to provide, for example, the software or hardware. Okay, the governance, management principle, what the IT risk, control, resilient, audit, event, and how you respond to it. So there's a lot of things that you need to put in place when you select a framework. And also it's very important to be transparent with regards to the customer data, like we all know. Okay, you have to take a look at the regulatory, okay, the audit, okay, and also what's the timeline, for example, the support. Some policy we talk about initially, we have things like COSO, which is more on focus on financial, COBIT. This is basically more on technical issue, international standard, ISO. Other than that, we have the library, ITIL, NIST. This is National Institute of Standard and Technical, PCI, SOCIS. So these are the different standard that's available in the practice today. So we talk about that. Okay. So to approach it, okay, basically you need to be able to manage it, okay, and if there's any risk, to be able to dispose it, right? Simple as that, right? Then again, try to prevent any risk, okay, but mistake that bound to happen, and you have to take note. So let's take a look at the model. This is basically a 3-domain ISCA framework. So here we have we talk about governance, evaluation, and also response. Okay, they are interrelated. Okay, what does the regulatory do? If there's any risk, how you respond and how you mitigate. Right? So, for example, take a look at the physical domain of IT responsibility approach. This is using ISO 27002 for best practice. This is basically to create a clear linkage between control and business process, and allow end-to-end business process, okay, or a silo. Roles, responsibility and accountability, personal. Okay. We talk about governance, oversight. Okay. Who manages it, and also management oversight. Okay. There are basically rules. Having said that, we have the 7 domain for IT infrastructure. I think we talked about it before. First, we have the head of the IS, the single point of contact. Okay. Data steward. Okay. He or she basically in charge of the data. Could be security, quality, okay, data mining, data custody. Okay. This is basically maintaining the quality of data. Also data administration, okay, backing up, downloading, administration, and also security, data security administrator, granting access, assessing threats. So let's take a look at the organization structure for IS or security. So we have the top executive governance, top down. Basically, we have the board director, the head, and followed by the second tier, operational control. Okay. Which you mentioned earlier, for example, administrator, management. Okay. Moving along, we will talk about organization culture. Okay. Take note that how it influence the organization. Okay. How the head or the top influence the company, and to build trust. Okay. Also in terms of duties, okay, there's a need for internal control, okay, in terms of access, for example. So also no employee are able to execute high risk transaction, for example, sending big funds, for example, cancel error, fraud. Okay. Pretty much removing a lot of data. Okay. And also there's a need for layered security. In this case, 2 or more layers independent to reduce risk. For example, we have first tier, second tier, third tier. For example, approving or giving access of data, reading, downloading. Okay. And also you need to have a redundant layer just in case one of the layers fails to react. Okay. In terms of duty, for example. So in terms of domain responsibility and accountability, okay, I mentioned earlier, transaction and organization level. Okay. And the next slide, I'll talk about 3 lines of defense model. Okay. First, we have the first defense, which is basically more on business unit risk, followed by the second line, enterprise risk, and third line, more on monitoring. Okay. So in terms of governance and compliance, companies should be able to apply how well their practices, okay, in terms of security in the company, and how much do they cover in terms of broad space training, implementation, awareness. Uh, in terms of IT security, okay, basically is to reduce costs in terms of damages, okay, and to follow policy, regulation, and auditor, and most of the time is automated, okay, and also testing the system whether does it react or not. Framework, we'll talk about business risk, okay, what's the strategy of the company, compliance to regulatory, financial, do they have funding for this IT policy, operation, do you have the manpower, reputational, if there's any breach in their IT system, for example target, a lot of customer were affected, okay, and others. Last but not least, the best practice, okay, we have GRC, okay, government risk compliance, okay, which is a constant management, okay, which, and also ERM, or enterprise risk management on a larger scale, which require reporting and also managing the enterprise. So that's pretty much it for the class today. If you have any question, feel free to email me. Thanks.